Hi Capricorn, welcome to November. So, if you didn't know, I had pneumonia and I've just been recovering and it's been fucking terrible. Anyway, here we are and I can finally breathe and talk at the same time. So here we go. Let's talk about the new moon. The new moon is on November 1st. Now, although generally what that means for all of us, new moon, Scorpio, it has to do with change, it has to do with healing. But for you specifically, the change and healing is all centering around this deep need for connection. Regardless of whether you have connection in your life already, the need is intense. So whether that means a deepening of that connection that you already have, or you going outside of that connection, or you being single and coming upon someone that you don't even really know, but that desire is almost desperate for a deep intimacy. You're tired of the superficiality that you yourself have imposed over the past few years, where you decided consciously to pull away, take care of yourself, perhaps unburden yourself from the responsibilities of the people around you that you love, that love you, and how it was kind of eating up your life. You may have become cognizant to how much of your time, energy, life energy it was taking to manage the people around you that you cared about. You may have consciously decided over the past few years to pull back from those connections, and you may have experienced that pendulum swinging too far the other way. Now we have this new moon, and it isn't to be rushed, right? There's a tendency here to infer that Scorpio season really puts the passion, out front and center, and we have to run towards things. And no, it's about unforeseen circumstances creating a depth that you've been looking for. You think that depth of emotion is going to come from some decision you're going to make. It's going to be in your hands, and it's your will, and you can change things how you want by saying what you want. And as long as your feelings are clarified, then you can easily get what you want. Here, we have a completely different game being played, right? So your views are logical. And for the most part, your views hold up, because that is your experience. That's how life moves for you. November is very, very different, okay? Because there is this idea of Pluto having been a bandage over a bullet wound. Pluto tried its best with you to unearth what was going on with these wounds. But now it moves forward in the middle of the month and it rips those bandages off as it leaves. So think back now to May 2023. Whatever you briefly experienced in that time, especially if you felt like you were tested at that time and you failed. If you look back at May of last year and you think to yourself, if I could have done things differently, if I knew then what I know now. There we are. You now know better, okay? And you have the appropriate response prepared this time. You will be put in the same situations. Those situations get recreated. Many of these are unforeseen. This is someone who comes out of the blue. This is a business situation that you thought was long dead. It comes back with some sort of difficulty attached to it. And you are asked the same question again. You're asked to respond to the same exact scenario, but how you respond is now informed by the experience you've had from then until now and all the insight that you've had because you have been thinking about it. It all comes in handy because your response is now appropriate. Mars is moving into Leo, and that will be your rebirth. But before we get to your rebirth, we have to talk about your transformation that leads to that rebirth, okay? So very Scorpio coded right now. That transformation begins with, on the 2nd of November, Mercury moving into Sagittarius. And then it's there. Mercury is with Venus, which is already in Sagittarius, until the 11th. And on the 11th, dramatic pause, please. On the 11th, Venus will move into Capricorn. So from the 2nd to the 11th, we have we have Mercury and Venus together in Cap rising, your 12th house. On the 25th Cap rising, we have Mercury moving retrograde, also in Sagittarius. Now, what does that mean? Well, there is quite a lot of attention being paid to the morality behind your need for power and control. There's a lot of attention being paid to marital status, infidelity, shared resources. If there is any sort of power struggle or control going on between you and a current partner or a former partner, current business partner, former business partner, there are dissolutions here. And they have to do with material loss. They have to do with material being split between you and this significant other person. And what you're left with, the questions that Mercury, Venus set in Sagittarius I want you to ask of your 12th house, of that subconscious, is what's more important? Because you will have a decision to make where you can either choose to have the control and the power, or you can choose to hold on to the money. But it does seem like there is a decision being made between the two. You can move forward. Now let's here address your character. This is Elizabeth I. You can move forward into the bright, colorful future, or you can choose to remain as you have and perhaps never realized how dull and drab that past was, now that you can see things in Technicolor. But now that you can see, is there any going back? Is there a way to find yourself back in the land of total control? Does that you exist? For sure. Can that you still function in the world? For sure. Does the world resemble a place now where you can function like that? Because Pluto moves into Aquarius and you don't have to change, but the world changes around you. And it's changing rapidly, and you had a taste of this in May of last year. So look back to what the important message was surrounding May 2023 and what you really need to share. Now let's talk about your rebirth. Let's talk about Mars and Leo. So Mars is going to move into Leo on the 4th. When it moves, and as it's moving, it will oppose Pluto as it's in the very last degrees of your sign and as it moves into Aquarius. For you, it prompts you from the 4th onward, all through the winter, all through the spring, to open up and really share with people, especially someone that you would like as a partner. Now, this may surprise you. This could be someone that you don't know very well, someone that you meet and have an immediate trusting rapport with. It's not chemistry so much sexually, it's chemistry based on a sense of familiarity and trust. How can you trust someone you just met? You don't know, but you feel it. It's there. The person is solid in a way that makes you comfortable, and as soon as you're comfortable, your feelings come pouring out. There is an element, of course, of seduction here with Mars and Venus playing this game. So we have Mars in Leo, we have Venus in your sign. There's a boost here. And because you feel like being honest, because you feel like being forthcoming and really sharing your feelings, that confidence, that seductive quality that you have is that much more enhanced. And it may give you pause. It may give you a moment, give you a moment of pause as you think, these abilities that I have, this natural confidence that I possess, it's that much more enhanced by just being forthcoming and honest and vulnerable. There's no power or seduction lost to me by being open. Now, not everybody can say that. And it's, I don't know, I've mentioned it quite casually, but it's quite a revelation to have about yourself, that you don't need to necessarily charm people to be charming. You can just be open and vulnerable, and in that authenticity is an undeniable charm that's perhaps much more powerful than what you're used to employing consciously. Mars Venus gives you a huge door to walk through in terms of understanding yourself and how compelling you can be. I wouldn't be surprised if you come out of this season and as Pluto, sets itself up properly, I wouldn't be surprised if you get into some sort of charity work. Not at all surprising. If you can embrace it, if you can accept the fact that your vulnerability is more compelling than your need for control, the way in which you can influence people deepens because you're no longer asking for their trust. It's given freely. You don't have to prove how cool you are, how successful you are, how attractive you are. The way that you behave is saying it for you. And if you're a business person, like so many of you are, if you're an artist, like so many of you are, if you're a lover, like so many of you are, then you'll know that this is life-changing. This one revelation can completely steer the trajectory of your life. Because whether you realize it or not, so much of what drives your everyday life has to do with that will and, getting what you want. But to be able to sway people and essentially still get what you want by not asking for it, by not maneuvering, by just being forthcoming and honest and open and vulnerable about whatever you're going through, whatever you have been through, whatever you wish for yourself. The idea that could get the job done more easily than forcing people into your point of view or, pushing them to do the work, it's laughable. It's so simple in comparison. And it will also make you think, do I require a level of work from the people around me, from myself, because just the doing of the work makes me feel like it's valuable? if I could accomplish the same goals with half the work, with half the words, with half the effort, is it still valuable? Again, the question remains, is it about money or is it about power and control? And this is a very deep question for you, because when it's put in front of you through unforeseen circumstances throughout the month, but especially the last part of the month, when the question is put in front of you, what do you want more? It will open a door for you into understanding yourself in a way that you don't right now. Because you can easily answer this question now and say, one or the other. For sure, I would definitely take the money over the power. I don't need the power and control. I got the money. But when life puts it in front of you in real life terms and you have to choose, there will be, in the midst of these unforeseen circumstances, epiphanies happening, where you will hearken back to this reading and go, okay, I see what she means. Because this decision that I can make right now is very telling. It's saying a lot about me in ways that perhaps nothing else could illustrate to me. So that's my favorite part of what's going on for you in November, is that it's super private. Even though we're talking about being very forthcoming, opening up, really sharing with people, even though we're talking about being very open and authentic, there is a privacy to this process. This is all about you. Nobody else has to understand or even picks up on the fact that this is an existential struggle that you're having. As the sign associated with success, the ones that know how to do it best, the ones who have figured out this worldly life, is the goat having a crisis of conscience, or has the goat realized that two-pronged tongue of success? What is success? Is it the ability to mold other people to your will? Or is it about having the kind of money that allows you to tell people to fuck off to their face? Is it fuck you money you want? Or do you want people to be too afraid to ever tell you to go fuck yourself? Which one is it? Now this rebirth, getting back to that, with Mars and Leo creating that opposition with Pluto, it's very reactive. It creates situations that are perturbing to you. It makes you reactive, situations where you feel slammed. Especially you feel slammed by anything that you've been avoiding. So that brings us back to May 2023. Anything that happened back then, let's just take for an example. May 2023, you had big plans. And they were suddenly put on hold. Right? By no actions of your own, by no will of your own, you had to put whatever you were doing back there on hold. Maybe because the other person involved didn't want to do what you guys were doing, maybe because something happened, maybe because there was some unforeseen larger circumstance. You had to put something down. Now, when you go to pick it back up, you realize that whatever you've been avoiding learning, whatever you've been avoiding dealing with, ties into May 2023. There is something about that situation when you think of May 2023, the thing, whatever it is that pops out to you, there is something about that situation that ties in to these really irritating things that start happening after mid-November, where you feel perturbed, you feel reactive, and you can't help but notice, right? Like, oh, this has to do with what I've been avoiding since last May. Okay. The way to get in front of it is to take the next 2 weeks and think very honestly about what was going on in May, how you fucked up, or made yourself look stupid or dropped the ball or whatever you did back then, instead of going back there and thinking about it and getting sad about it, go back there, think about it, take notes, come back to the future, and implement those things all over again. Do a hard reset on yourself now. Even if you're like, I learned what I needed to learn in May and I've been doing great since then, if I've implemented everything, great. Go back and do it anyway. Quality control. Go back, look at exactly what was going on back then that is left unfinished, and be doggedly honest with yourself about what you know you could have done better. Come back to the future with those notes, assess yourself currently according to that situation, and see how much of those changes have already been implemented, and observe what work is still there to be done. And instead of getting sad about that, instead of falling into a hole about it and saying, oh, I didn't do enough, oh my God, I'm still not ready. No. You take the next 2 weeks to seal up any of those cracks. So by the time you get to mid-November, that person that you are, physically, mentally, emotionally, could get cut out and put in May 2023 and would ace that test. Whatever you need to do, it requires discipline. It's not easy, but here's the question. Here's the real question. If you can master that level of discipline with yourself, will you any longer need external power and control? Because the thing that's always been really obvious to me about Capricorns is that the reason you guys grasp so tightly to the material world is because you have such a loose grasp on yourself. You are prone to all sorts of addictions. You're prone to all sorts of infidelities. You guys are known for having a second life, a secret life, however you want to put it. And I think it's because you have a real lack of control on yourself. And so you try to balance this out by having an intense amount of control on the world around you. Now, Pluto is like, no, it's time for you to learn how to discipline the internal so you can just fuck off and leave the external alone. Because when you fuck off and leave the external alone and just speak from your heart and are just completely honest, things work out beautifully for you. And you make friends along the way. See, the thing about your way of doing it is that even when you get it done, most of the time you've alienated people. Right? This is completely different. This is about re-examining why you've always felt the need to overcompensate externally. Realizing where that discipline really needs to be, where to really exert that power is on yourself. Really get yourself up to speed. Be as disciplined as you possibly can. Be hard on yourself. And bring yourself up to May 2023. I would have been perfect if I had been like this standards. Take yourself there. And then once you're there, recognize that every situation, every unforeseen circumstance that's coming in, trying to get you to deal with this question because you've already answered it, realize that then every one of those occasions becomes an opportunity for you to just gather more life energy, more opportunities you can then create in the midst of chaos, because the chaos can no longer touch you. You've already come to your decisions. You've already figured it out. You swap not power for money, you swap power for discipline. And when you swap power for discipline, you receive a sort of power that no longer has any tethers to it. Excuse me. There are no more extenuating circumstances then. That power isn't given, so it can't be taken away. It's a power because it's you controlling yourself. It's a power you create. And it's the sort of thing that, although it's subtle work, all internal, the way it will have a real impact on your external life is astounding. People can see when you've done this work. They can sense it in you. People you work with can sense it very easily because work is all about power and control. People in romantic situations with you deepen their level of respect for you almost as if they're afraid they'll lose you. Because this internal glow up is very powerful. It's very private. And the power of it is in its subtlety. You're the same person you were, minus the grasping. But the grasping was never visible anyway. It just looked like ambition. But it's gone. You know that way that you are when you know you already have something? You just feel secure and well situated. You're not nervous about it. It's like that. Once you realize that being prepared emotionally, physically, gives you that security, that comfortability in the world, you won't lose it. Because like a joke, like a cosmic joke, it brings you all the money and power you were looking for. There is something so seductive about a person who is relaxed and honest. No matter what they want, you want to give it to them. Because not only do they not set off any of your alarms, you're magnetized to them. You're drawn to them. They're not wanting anything from you. They seem so content within themselves. They seem so hard worked within themselves that they're not asking any work of you. They show up an entire package. It's hard to say no. When you're showing up to dominate, you're showing up half-dressed. When you show up as the boss, you're showing up post-battle. The battle has already been fought and won within you. There is no more external battle. Overnight, you can see your situation with your coworkers change. It's that kind of thing. That's why I said you'll notice it a lot at work, because work is all about power and control. People will defer to you where before you had a hard time getting them to even hear you. Pluto in the second house, sure. Yes, there's also that. But I think that's the finality of Pluto leaving as well. I've taught you everything I can teach you, and the last thing I have to teach you is that the external is total bullshit. No matter if you're the Queen of England and you have every single thing that every person in the world could ever want. All the money, all the power, all the respect, everything. It doesn't matter if you have all of that, if you have no control over yourself. the idea that she makes herself into this kind of entombed, immortal being, free of gender or sex or anything, just this emblem of pure power. It has to do with cutting away everyone around her. She will not follow the conventions through which power is obtained. Now she will rule from this other place where she is a sort of living mythology. Her makeup, her way of being, her hair, it's all supposed to be emblematic of leaving those power struggles behind. She doesn't need a marriage into a wealthy kingdom to ensure peace. She doesn't need to play up her femininity or even her queenhood to get things done. She will now, this is Elizabeth coming into her own power, into herself. She will rule from that divine right of kings place. This is my birthright. This is what I was born to do. I am an emblem of power itself. I don't need a partner. I don't need partnerships. I don't need any human alliances. You see, I am no longer in the rat race of buying and selling and bartering our royal blood to stay in power in this ever-changing continent that she was queen of. No, she decides that power resides solely with her and that she won't share it. She doesn't need to share it. And how very apt, because you have it. And all it requires of you is just to discipline yourself. That's it. You have it. And just like her, you can make yourself a symbol of it, a symbol of independent power. And ironically, it will very easily bring you relationships that I think have eluded you for years. I think as long as you didn't understand where true power comes from, your relationships have been a disaster or they have been to some extent abusive. Either you getting abused by someone who has more power than you or the other way around. It's after you figure this stuff out that relationships can become not less serious, but less serious. The relationships are no longer in the realm of the boardroom for you, let's say, after this time. November 19th takes with it your need to dominate sexual partners and situations as if they were a competing account at work. You lose that. And with the internal discipline and the real furnace that's being fed of power within you, once that switch is made, once that transference happens, people who may have found you to be too much, too clingy, or wanted too much, that you wanted too much, they find it rather intoxicating to be around you, mainly because they can tell that you just don't care. And when you don't care and you don't need anything from them, you become extremely attractive. Now, the thing about that is that after the 19th, moving forward now, because Pluto's gone, you have to be careful about the giving. What do I mean by that? Once you become this powerhouse, you've had these epiphanies, you become very aware and accepting of yourself, your desires, it's pretty easy to get spotted as a mark, and people are going to start coming to you and wanting you to do stuff for them again. And, and then you're going to start remembering why you pulled back in the first place. Just be more disciplined with them as well. Don't try to be that guy all the time, because yeah, you get it done and everybody loves you, but you do it at your own expense. And then later you pay the price and you completely overextend yourself energetically, financially, whatever it is. And it's not cool. I mean, it's great for them. And I suppose it's great for your reputation, but your mental health definitely takes a toll. And I don't think that you can afford it right now. Your top priority right now should be just regaining your material balance while, feeding that furnace of internal power. You have to learn how to do both. And you will balance out. Venus moves into Capricorn, which is what we really should be talking about. Venus moves into Capricorn, and it's just a perfect time for you to get going on all this. Venus moves and you're paying so much attention to your internal self. Your discipline is on a 10. And then it becomes really obvious that your external self wants to start something, wants to do something. So that's like a business, a blog, whatever you've been waiting to do. After the 11th and well into the spring, it's just perfect. It's a perfect time. The soil is ready for you. Plant as many seeds as you can. Address here and there the things that need to be addressed that have time, like deadlines on them. But for the most part, be as creative as you can. And for those things that you're like, I don't even want to touch them, like that thing, it hasn't been addressed in so long, I don't even want to touch it. Partial solutions are better than no solutions. So whatever you can get done, wherever you can get it done, just start doing it. Like the way people clean when they have ADHD, of which I do. Pick up something here, start putting away, pick up something there, start putting it away. Yes, it's chaotic. It probably takes twice as long, but it's better. Trust me, it's better, and it's way more fun. And it is a way to break up the monotony of a job that can seem insurmountable. So that's the other thing. Venus moves into Capricorn, and there are some struggles you've been having, especially since May of last year, that may have seemed insurmountable. Venus moves into Capricorn and gives you the material that you need, the luck that you need, the opportunity that you need to get it done. But there is a moral overtone to all this. What are you willing to do if given the chance to get what you want? Because both roads will be available to you. You can become a tyrant who beheads their enemies, or you can become benevolent royalty that, is heralded through the ages. You can manipulate people and exert force and control, blackmail people, lie to people. Or you can do the right thing. You can choose the way of the greater good. You can be honest. Be humble. And the situations you're presented with, especially when it comes to mental and physical health, especially post November 19th, you will feel this choice. You will feel the world ask you more than once whether you want to do the right thing or you want to get it done. Both ways get you to your goal. You are meeting your quotas. But there are two roads there, and which road you choose is definitely being watched. Your karma is taking Vast amounts of notes. Why? Obviously, because Venus in Capricorn is also a setup for great financial success. But what will Capricorn do when given the money and the power? These few perturbances throughout November give us a clue. Does Capricorn sway the way of manipulation, deceit, bullying? Or has Capricorn learned something? Is it about being forthcoming and honest and perhaps even a bit penitent about the past? Is it about doing what's best for the people around them and for themselves? Because they're in touch with themselves and they understand what's best for them now. One will be chosen out of a need for power and control. The other will be chosen out of a need for internal peace. You got to be able to live with yourself. And I don't think you realize until Pluto moves, it's been real hard to live with yourself lately. Not necessarily because you're doing something wrong, just because there was so much of you that was being ignored. I get it. Pluto's like an alarm going off. It's hard to focus. But that alarm shuts off in 2 weeks, and there aren't any excuses left. What you want, no matter what it is, the need for it is deep and intense. And what you're willing to do to get it is of epic comic book level proportions. This is living mythology. Will you turn to the face of good or the face of efficiency? It's superhero, supervillain time, Capricorn. Both ways get you to your goal. One way gets you there happy and loved, and the other just gets you there. So you've got to decide. Whatever was brewing in May now begins. Prepare yourself accordingly. Now, that's your reading. Now let's just talk a little bit about what the rest of the year looks like and what we're heading into next year. There's a coldness about this character, a loneliness that may have been emblematic of your life for a long time. There is a sense of being removed to Capricorns. They're just a little bit far away. And she made it a point to enhance and accentuate that distance between her and everybody else as a means to display power. And perhaps in the same way, your coldness or your distance is a play of the same sort. But that Machiavellian spirit, whether you call it strategy or just good thinking, it's beginning to show its datedness. It's missing something, and I think what it's missing is something that Pluto moves into Aquarius and enhances right away, which is a humanity. And it's a humanity you're going to have to pick up and learn quickly on your feet. it's not natural to you. It's a bit inefficient, to be honest. But it is the way the world is going, and it is the only way to continue to be successful in it. You must adapt. Where your cold, removed sense of hard work and strategy has always won you the prize, now not only does hard work and strategy not work, the prize itself is gone and has been replaced with a gift basket of different teas and wellness drinks and crystals, and you are not happy about it. Because like a month ago, the prize was a multi-million-dollar bonus, and now it's fucking herbal tea. The landscape has changed completely, and it pulls the rug out from under your feet on the 19th. And the only thing that you have referentially to give you some comfort is May of 23. There's something there that shook you because you didn't respond to it properly. You weren't equipped. You didn't get it. You didn't understand. That's why that time period was so important. It was important to make those mistakes. It was important to fail. It was important to not understand. Because only in the context of what happens next does it make any sense. So do it on faith. Do it because you're smart. Do it because you like to be prepped. But go back to that time period and be extremely honest with yourself. What you should have done, how you should have looked, what you should have said, and what all of those things combined would imply about your thoughts. If you reverse engineer everything you should have said, should have done. Did I say should have did? Oh my God, never mind. If you reverse engineer all of that, you're going to come to a motto, a story, a slogan of sorts about that person. That person who did everything right in May. That person thinks a certain way about themselves. That person who would have said the right thing and worn the right thing and had the right attitude and would never have called back or whatever it is. That person thinks something very specific about themselves. And you reverse engineer it and you reverse engineer it, and we're all going to come to the same conclusion. At the end of the day, the thing that would have completely changed that situation in May of 23 is high self-worth, high self-esteem, and even higher self-worth. This is beneath me. That's it. That's it. This is beneath me. And I will do and say and act accordingly. But to really believe that, there are things that you need to be doing. To really look at yourself in the mirror and believe that there are things you need to be doing, not doing. To really believe that there are people you should not be speaking to, people you should be speaking to. Habits that should be broken, discipline and habits that should be instilled. What do you have to do to make that statement true? So you believe it. Forget if anybody else believes it, so you believe it. And then for 2 weeks, I did a podcast about 17 seconds. Well, fuck 17 seconds. For 2 weeks, live in that motto. Live in that space. Live in that phrase. Move accordingly. Dress accordingly. Eat accordingly. Talk accordingly. Don't talk accordingly. And see what happens. See how easily you can dominate this new world, even more easily then you dominated the last with even less effort and less work. It wouldn't really be an astrology pod if my phone didn't fucking go off at least once, right? That's what these are now. Each sign is just getting an hour-long podcast with your characters, images playing in the background, because I was just coughing too much to make any sense on camera. I had to stop and cough every 10 seconds. So the point is still domination. But when you conquer yourself, you don't dominate the world, you seduce it. The world no longer takes force to bend to your will. When you dominate yourself, the world falls at your feet. No need to dominate anyone. They're begging to do your will. When you want to dominate them and make them do what you want, things get really tough. And even when they work out, it's some strange Pyrrhic victory. No one really wins. But now real success can take root. Real success, very long lasting. A financial freedom that perhaps you've been dreaming about for a long time. Something that would just make you free to enjoy life. Enjoy it without the worries that you have now. Yeah. Plant those seeds, Capricorn. Your time has come. Channel all that desire and need into yourself. Stop pouring that out into board meetings and, friend cries. Use it for something. There's so much mind going to waste. Build something. It's time. It's time. And you know what? I love you. I was going to do Queen Elizabeth and Princess Diana as Cancer and Capricorn. But I didn't want to do Diana. I put that costume on once a year ago, and it made me so sad. So fabulous, but so sad. This costume, on the other hand, was a joy. However, I couldn't breathe. It wasn't that it was too tight, it was just too much. I put the costume on and I felt like there was a stone sitting on my chest, like I just couldn't breathe. I'm glad I'm doing a voiceover because I would have sounded insane otherwise. It's just this steady, deep breathing going on, almost like a snore. But it felt like something was crushing me. The weight of the thing, but also what it is and what it represents. And once I had the wig and everything else on, I felt some strange pangs of expectation, and it made me feel sorry for you. I can't imagine the weight of expectation. I'm a middle child. I think they just expected that I would keep myself alive. That would be enough. But expectation felt heavy and suffocating. And maybe some of you have listened to this reading and thought I would love to do that, but I can't change my definitions of what success is. I have people around me, they would be disappointed. I would let them down. Well, maybe no one's ever said it to you because they don't have the guts, but I'll say it from behind a screen where you can't grab me. Sometimes you have to let people down. Sometimes the only thing that keeps someone like you from changing and doing better for yourself is that you just can't let people down. But what you're not realizing is that your failure to evolve is also keeping them from evolving because you love them and they love you. And you're holding up their evolution because you refuse to do what's next. Maybe you feel like those people will resent you. And perhaps in the immediate, they will. But evolution is messy and kind of ugly and scary. But it's necessary. There's this line in World War Z where Brad Pitt says he used to work for the UN, and what he learned from every conflict he'd ever been in was that you have to move or you die. You have to keep moving or you die. Maybe some of you haven't moved in a long time because there's just too many people relying on you standing still. And if you don't stand still, the houses they built on your back will fall down. But you move or you die. And I think you know that. Don't let that crushing weight of expectation turn you into a living, entombed person. You are not this. You are so much more than this. And anyone who decided to build their foundations on your back deserves to have their structures toppled. And as you evolve and become more, they will perhaps at first in anger and then in awe, and soon with inspiration, they will see you make it right. You don't owe it to them, you owe it to yourself. Okay? All right. That's it. I love you. Happy Halloween.
Une très grande clé. Ah. Could a queen say no? Monsignor Alvaro! Monsignor Alvaro! Monsignor Alvaro, tell me, as well as ambassador, are you not also a bishop?
He does not know enough English to perform the ceremony.
Alas, madame, in this matter I can be of no help to you.
Protect her! Protect the queen! Help her! Help her! Quickly, call the guard! Hurry up! Queen! The queen! Look at the queen!
Where were you, Sir Francis? I only hope that Her Majesty may be safely delivered from his present danger.
I am perfectly well. Please do not fuss.
No one, Stewart.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, Lord Robert.
I said no one.
To whose advantage was this? De Foix?
No. Not with Anjou in play.
Then some madman.
There is always madness, Master Elliot. This was devised. There is reason behind it.
Then Alvaro, for he has most cause.
Yes, but he was present. He's too subtle for that.
With Norfolk? He is not so subtle and has even more cause.
Indeed.
So then, he's not in league with the Spanish?
Perhaps. Stay close to him. The Duke has some other game.
But the Queen favors you above all others. But you have many enemies here, is it not so?
That is no concern of yours.
It may be. If you would be prepared in secret to
Monseigneur, you think I might so easily be persuaded to act against my conscience and my love?
It was a terrible affair. The Duke would still know the answer to his suit.
You may tell the Duke that he shall...
Point is pressing.
The Duke cannot love me so much if he demands my answer so precipitously.
Perhaps Her Majesty will not answer because her heart is already set upon another.
Do not presume, monsieur, to know the secrets.
S'il vous plaît, Excellency, je vous prie de m'excuser. Secrets, madam? You have no secrets. The world knows that Lord Robert visits your chambers at night and that you fornicate with him. It's even said that you already carry his child.
Yes, Sir William, I live my life in the open. I am surrounded by people. I do not understand how so bad a judgment has been formed of me.
Madam, you cannot marry Lord Robert. He's already married.
Pirates attack and rob our ships, but we are to be made fools of in this court. The king, my master, has become impatient for your grace to act. If you will not, then others may.
You must reassure His Majesty that the time is close at hand. He must not act precipitously.
English pirate!
His Majesty.
The world is filled with rumors, Monseigneur.
We wish to give the Duke this ring as a token of our love.
Madame, I love...
No. I shall give it to him myself.
Madame, I should not.
Sir William.